Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. My name is Anton Czachor, and this is a collaboration with the LTS podcast and the Anton Show. And today's guest is Andre Paradis. So Andre is a certified relationship dynamics coach, certified NLP coach. He has worked with the Mankind Project, and this is what I find the most interesting. So between 1984 and 2000, he was actually a professional dancer, having worked with Michael Jackson, Prince, Julio Iglesias, and Paula Abdul. Yeah, when he told me that, it blew my mind, especially because a lot of you guys know that follow the channel. A lot of what I did initially with my channel was music reactions and reviewing music and reviewing a lot of these artists. So just coming across Andre and having him reach out and telling me some of this stuff was pretty mind-blowing, pretty incredible. So additionally to that, he's a 2 times Amazon best-selling author, and he's an ordained minister. And so I do want to make some personal comments about Andre, because this is going to be interesting. So Andre is a wonderful guy. He's become one of my closest friends in the last 6 months, because we did this podcast 6 months ago. And yeah, I'm saying all of this because when you come across Andre, especially in this conversation, Andre is extremely blunt. Andre just says it how it is, doesn't give a shit about what anyone thinks, which is beautiful and is going to be triggering for some people, especially if some people might have perspectives on relationships that differ to Andre's perspective. Yeah, it'll definitely probably be triggering. And I just want to say, like, I've seen many sides of Andre, in the 6 months since knowing him. Like, me and him talk all the time. We're constantly going back and forth every week, a lot of the time. And I've seen openness, graciousness, deep honoring of my boundaries. There's been times where Andre's asked me for, you could say support, kind of like social media support or something. And anytime I don't feel comfortable doing it, he's the first one to go, awesome. Like, you honor your boundaries, which is really important. And it says a lot about his character, that he's not somebody who will ever really take advantage of people or push people or pressure people into doing things that would benefit him and not benefit the person. And so like that was actually like an initiation moment for Andre and I that really took our relationship to the next level, was that moment of him just being so honoring of me and my boundaries, and just me feeling, okay, this is a real friendship. This is not just, how can we use each other to benefit our careers kind of thing. I've seen Andre's childlike enthusiasm. I've seen him be like a little kid. That's the best thing ever, because you don't always see that side of him. I've seen deep vulnerability with him actually shedding tears, both with myself and my friend Ian, separate occasions. And just, talking about his mother and just getting really emotional and just sharing deeply from his heart. And it's interesting. You'll see in this podcast, he's very blunt in this podcast, even though he actually does get quite vulnerable at some points, near kind of like the middle and the end, which is too bad. I wish we got into some of that stuff earlier. But yeah, he's a super close friend of mine, and I really deeply love Andre. And I do want to make a disclaimer that please use your discernment when you listen to this podcast and anything I ever put out. This is just my opinion and Andre's opinion. Doesn't mean that it's right. Andre's been doing this work for 15 years, over 15 years, just over 15 years. And, this is his expertise. And at the same time, nobody has the full side of the picture. And so if what Andre says resonates with you, fantastic. If it doesn't, great. And if it triggers you, that's awesome, because it means that it's triggering a belief that you have, right? And believe me, there's even some things he talks about that triggers me, because, there's things I think about relationships, or, things that are nuanced. And sometimes me or Andre or all of us just make blunt statements that, are nuanced, and there's more to it. And that's something actually that I want to go in. So I'm going to be having Andre on the podcast again in the future. And for this podcast, I didn't really push back very much. I really was just listening to his perspective because I really feel like I don't want to challenge somebody until I really understand what they're about and what they're really saying, get in the nuance. But there are some things that, like when I was editing this podcast, because sometimes as a podcast host, when a podcast is in the process of happening, you're taking in so much information that it's sometimes, unless you're really well versed in the subject matter, you're just kind of processing it. You're like, okay, what are you saying? Like, you know, and you're piecing it together. You're trying to make sense of it. And so I just feel like, yeah, it was only when I started editing the podcast that I'd be like, oh, I wish I asked a question there. Or I think that's more nuanced than he stated. And there's a lot of times actually where Andre will say something, I will push back a little bit or add nuance, and then he will go, yes, exactly. And I will frame what he said, like in another way, and he'll be like, no, that's not actually what I mean. And so again, this stuff is so nuanced, but again, Andre's bluntness and just the fact that this kind of material is super sensitive for a lot of people, you know, gender roles, relationship dynamics, what it means to be a man, what it means to be a woman. These things are topics that are very triggering, and a lot of us have really strong beliefs and opinions on them. And when someone has a different opinion and says it with authority, it can be very triggering. So again, if you get triggered by this, I do invite you to just look inwards and go, why is this so triggering? And, you know, again, just because it's his perspective doesn't mean it's right. And yeah, like another thing with the podcast is I'm simply here to share new people and ideas with you guys. Ideas and people that resonate with me, and also sometimes ideas and people that I'm half resonant with or I want to fully flesh out. And I feel like this is the best opportunity to do that by actually talking to them one-on-one. And just because I have someone on doesn't mean that they're necessarily right for you. So if you usually like what I do, and then I put out a piece of content that you're not really as resonant with, like, that's okay. You know what I mean? Like, we all have so many different broad interests, and we're not going to be all interested in the same things. And so don't ever feel bad if you're like, oh, you know, why am I not interested in this? Or why does this piss me off? Or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, it's absolutely okay. And, yeah, so like whatever you feel about this topic, feel free to share your thoughts and questions respectfully in the comment section down below. If you are inflammatory or derogative or insulting, that's not acceptable here. I'm really trying to cultivate, I am actively cultivating a community of just open-minded, curious, open-hearted people. And that doesn't mean that everyone agrees. I want everyone to have different opinions. And, you know, I think that's the beauty that we can bring to each other, is diversity of opinion, diversity of thought, and different perspectives and stuff. So I do invite you, no matter what you think about any of this stuff, share it in the comments section. Just, you know, please be respectful. That's the only thing I ask. Let's create a dialogue around this. So lastly, the sections of this video and what this conversation covers are, so part 1 is why men and women have lost their spark. Number 2 is why most men feel like imposters. And this is very interesting, especially what Andre reveals about himself, especially being such a blunt and confident man on the surface. And really, he is confident. But again, he's just like all human beings, he's a nuanced character, and he has still insecurities, inadequacies. And that's one thing I love about him, is that he's honest. He's an authentic human being. Part number 3 is a quote: a woman can only get her heart broken 5 times before she gives up on love. Clip number 4, how society has destroyed the natural polarity between men and women. And next, how women with unresolved trauma become highly masculine. Part 6, why men need to belong to a community. And lastly, part 7 is Andre and I have a heart-to-heart about what it feels like to grow up feeling disconnected from our families. And just feeling like, you know, kind of waking up at like 5 years old or 7 years old and going like, who the fuck are these people? You know what I mean? Like, sometimes family can feel like strangers. Luckily for me, I was super close to my mother growing up, but the rest of my family felt like strangers to me. And same with Andre. And so, we had a really beautiful heart to heart near the big, like middle, second half of this podcast. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the episode. All right. Andre Paradis, welcome to the show, brother.
Anton, my man, always good. My brother from another mother from a different planet. Good to be here.
Dude, all right, man. So we pretty much already had 20 minutes of a conversation that we'll probably actually continue later in this conversation. But how I wanted to start off this podcast, this conversation, is just in terms of relationships, and also feel free to go into any realm you want with this. But what has been inspiring you lately? Like, what rabbit holes have been lighting you up lately?
Oh my goodness. What it rocks me to my core. It hurts me to see how derailed society has become in the realm of men and women. And I see it every single day. Obviously, I have clients and stuff, but I'm also in the world every day, and I go to the gym every day, and I watch these men not knowing what to be anymore, even though they kind of isolate and kind of build their lives. And I go to a fancy gym, so a lot of the guys are ballers and entrepreneurs, but like the light in their eyes is gone. Like they're just sort of robotically, just because I think this, but for most men cannot make sense of their existence if they can't sort of live beyond themselves. And that usually typically means a wife and family, right? A legacy. Do you know what I mean? So most men, if you just let them be men and isolated, they kind of don't understand. After a while, they lose the will to lean in and work bigger, do better, because without someone to care for, to need them, they kind of lose that. It's a battle for me. You know what I mean? And it's not enough. People don't battle for themselves very long. You know this, right? Like it's easier to be a savior or a helper to somebody else than to ourselves. Often we're better to other people than we are to ourselves, right? That's the human condition. So if you consider men cannot make sense of their own existence when they're isolated, alone, or they can't connect in relationships with women, they kind of wilt. They wilt, and the power, the man they could be, the influence they can have, the relevance they can have in the world often gets watered down. And I watch this, and I could feel it in them, right? Like there's a kind of, what's the point, right? They push, but like the heart is missing because they can't connect in the world, because like it or not, right? Nature has it that men and women polarize each other and activate each other. You know what I mean? So the whole idea of, you get men and women together, and it's like this bubbling in the air of excitement, of dopamine, and like there's chemistry, right? And it doesn't mean anybody crosses a line into anything. It's nature, right? Put men and women together in the same room, this tantalizing, and they kind of come alive, right? That's nature. So when you take that out away, right, it kind of, for the men, it kind of neutralizes them in so many ways. They wilt, literally. What they're able to do is lowered radically. On the other side, the ladies that I see everywhere, again, and I blame this on the cultural. We talk about conspiracy and or like the fucking cultural bullshit out there that men are toxic, dangerous, can't trust them, and it's everywhere. So feminism is going to push this agenda to a point of scaring women to death when it comes to relationships, so women isolate or go to work and build businesses, and but their heart is left out. They can't trust, man. They're afraid of getting hurt. They're afraid of being used. They're afraid to be taken advantage of, like the boy before did, right? We talked about this yesterday. 3 types of men, 3 types of women, 4 really, but like, so if you're a masculine woman, you attract the man who will take advantage of you and work you and play you and cheat on you, right? That's just nature. So I'm watching women isolated. I'm watching women alone. I'm watching women really unhappy. I watch women feeling disconnected from the spirit that keeps them feminine, right? So A woman has to feel safe in the world for her to be able to be feminine, right? And when you man up, right, you leave your heart, you move up in your head like us men, and in that space, right, there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of like fighting, surviving, pushing, competing in the world, right? And then we lose them. We lose them. We lose their heart. We lose their energy. We lose their beautiful, nurturing, loving spirit. We lose the radiance of being of a woman, which is actually what lifts our soul, by the way. The magic of femininity is for us men, it's like, oh, right? It's like, wow. It's like just want to be in that presence, that energy, right? It lifts our spirit. It's like breathes life into us. It's and like women, I can't ever find the words to explain this because you have to have a male body to to receive that in a way that it's undescribable. There's no words. I could go on for 30 minutes with all kinds of adjective about how it kind of brings us to life, and you talk about. Then we want to protect that energy, and that's when the hero comes in. This was the So
May I pause you for 1 second, Andre? Because this statement of you need to have a male body to know what this feels like. Do you think this is the male and female body, the man and the woman,
Yep.
or do you think this is the polarity of energy? So let's say you get a gay couple.
Yeah.
If they're have a strong polarized charge, can they, from your experience of working with them, can they tap into that same energy, or is it still different?
It's still different from my experience. And like I see, there's two couples here in Los Angeles that I know who've been together 30 years, two gay guys, two sets of gay guys. And the polarity is this. One leads and loves to lead. That's who he is. That's his temperament. He likes the guy up front, opens all the door, right? On the microphone, talks to everybody, right? And the other one wants to support the lead. Temperamentally, extroverted, introverted. The introvert doesn't want anything to do with being extrovert. That wears them out, that stresses them out, right? So extrovert get energies from the world and leaning in. Extrovert, exact opposite. They're better one-on-one, right? Small groups, they get overwhelmed easily, right? So this is who they are at their core. The people who succeed in all relationships, right, kind of have a leader supporter of the lead dynamic. Now, the power of a feminine woman, again, if we go back to I call it the core self-doubt that men have, that is different than the core self-doubt that women have, right? The female energy, in my opinion, from my experience, for my work, from watching couples of all orientation come together, nothing is more empowering than a woman who believes in her man, helps him alleviate his self-doubt when he questions himself, because we do all the time. We want to be great. We want to be big. We want to be good. We want to be competitive. We want to be a good husband. We want to be a good father. We want to be a good businessman. We want to provide for our family. We want. But the self-doubt that we carry from childhood is, I want to be all these things, but I don't know if I can.
I've
never fucking done it. I've never fucking done it, right?
Self-doubt. That resonates with me, but keep going.
This is what men experience, and all the way through their lives, right? Because as a young man, you are worthless. You know nothing. You can't provide anything. You're like, a 20-year-old dude has not a whole lot of value on the market, right? It takes most men to 30, 35 to kind of like actually gain value. This is what women find this most attractive, because, resources and money and power is attractive to a woman. That is nature again, right? To be provided for and be able to raise the children and blah, blah, blah. So our self-doubt can only be alleviated to the point that I'm talking about, with a woman who gets you, believes in you, and when you go, I don't know if I could do this, can say, you're funny. I know who you are. I've seen you do it. Get out of here. Go. Be amazing. Go do it. Get this. This is magical, and nobody is talking about this, and because nobody's experiencing this, not stepping in all the way. Different story, but when a woman believes in her man, it gives him the jet fuel to do much bigger than he could expect. Men will say, without her, and I'll say this myself and my wife, without my wife, I'm not this guy. I can't be. She believes in me. She blows winds in my sails. She gives me the jet fuel to go. Seriously, it's like I have this self-doubt that a question makes me questions, because I don't even know that.
And is this still, like, how old are you?
I'm 59.
So 59. So you still deal with some of the self-doubt of like you have these dreams and you still wonder, can I really reach the very pinnacle of what I want in life?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what happens to men throughout their entire lives up to their 50s, right? When again they want to be big, they feel like imposters the whole time. They're faking it.
Hey man, yeah.
Right? Straight up.
Yeah, dude.
We all think we're faking it. When I put this front, and we're actually thinking, if they only knew, I had no idea what I'm doing here. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just faking it, right? Like all the way through, by the way, all the way through until about 50. And then, it was still self-doubt is always there. I don't know if I can enough. Am I good enough? I'm big enough. I compete out there with the world, like where do I stack in the hierarchy of life and man and competing, right? It's we're never without it. But at 50 or so, you could look back and go, well, kind of, I got a house and I got a career and, my wife and my kids are good. Like, we don't get there, but we kind of like calm down a little bit. Right. There's a sense of like, I'm getting to falling into, I'm actually capable. Yes. I now know what I could do and I can't do. Right. We can pace it. We know where to lean in and where it's useless. We learn that through fighting for it. Except get this, at that age, after 25 years of doing it and kind of starting to believe that you're capable and good enough and a divorce or bankruptcy, poof, back to zero.
Wow.
At 50, 55, you name it. So the only jet fuel, have you heard this, right? Men will say, I'm not this man without my wife. Behind every great man is a fantastic woman. That's the cocktail. That's a yin yang. That's nature. And when he conquers, I have one of my clients, the guy is a baller, right? Baller. You wouldn't believe like the kind of money he's making. But he says, it's because of her. It's because of her, right? He goes, she believes in me. Every time I question myself, she's like, please get out of here, right? And she goes, the more she believes in me, the more money I make. Magical. And then, and for me, the reward for her is alleviate a man's self-doubt. Like I said, we're plagued by that for our entire lives, right? Feeling imposters. When a woman alleviates your self-doubt, she's your queen. She's your queen. You're going to take care of that woman. You're going to fucking try to put her in a comfortable house with a maid. If you want her to be good, you want her to be happy, you want her to be feminine, you want her to keep being the energy that lifts us up. Right? That's the magic of really the nature of relationships, how we come together to be better. Boy, you see what I'm saying? So,
yeah, absolutely. I can definitely see that in myself and my experiences.
All of us.
It's also very interesting. Something that you brought up in the workshop yesterday, last night, was this idea that when women are feminine, men will be chivalrous. They'll be more protective. It's really funny, and I often use this one example to illustrate this exact point. So Sandra Bullock is an actress that often, previously in my life, I've always thought of her as very masculine, or like had a little bit of a masculine charge.
Sure.
Then a few months ago, I saw the movie. Have you seen The Net with Sandra Bullock?
No.
Okay. Anyway, it's this movie that came out in the 90s. It's actually an awesome movie. Okay. But she essentially plays the damsel in distress, you could say, in this movie, where she's on the run from this guy hunting her. And it was so funny, because this was one of her earlier roles. I think she was probably, early 20s, I would say. Okay. And I remember, because usually the feeling whenever I watch Sandra Bullock is like this emotional, almost, I wouldn't call it detachment, but there's like nothing arises out of me. When this entire movie, watching her, I was like, I just felt this urge to protect her. And it was, and because she was very feminine, she was, you could call it being afraid. She was in danger. She was being vulnerable. Right. She was going, I don't know what the fuck's going on. And all of a sudden I was just like, I need to protect this woman. and I remember telling people, I was like, it's wild. And also there was another time. So a year ago, I was kind of at the very beginning of possibly dating stages with two women, where I was just at the beginning of like just getting to know them, right? And figuring out who was I possibly going to commit to. One of them was more masculine and the
Yep.
other was more feminine. And I remember telling my friend Ian, I said, with the more feminine one, I feel like a different person than with the other one. The other one, it was like kind of like we were kind of like friends and almost felt like brother and sister
Yep.
more. And then with the feminine one, that was being vulnerable and
Open.
open, supportive. And like it was really interesting because she immediately took this supportive role with me where
Mm-hmm.
she was like, hey, like I want to see you succeed, all these things. And I was like, dude, it's the wildest thing. Like I feel like I want to protect this woman, like I want to guard her, I want to take care of her. Like I was much more like I'm a very naturally compassionate, supportive person by nature. It's just in my personality. But I
Yep.
noticed how much more protective and supportive I was with
With
this
her.
woman.
Yeah.
And so everything like you're talking about is 100% true. I've just literally experienced the difference of being with a woman who is guarded because she had a lot of pain, she had been
Yeah.
hurt before,
Yep.
and it's
Guarded.
just
Yep.
yeah, and it's just too bad because it's like
No.
if you're not feminine, and it's not your fault, it's again it's like
Right.
it's
Life.
it's life, but it's like when you're not feminine, you don't give men the opportunity to protect you and to take care of you, which would be the very thing that would allow you to help be more feminine. And so you see this spiral, right?
Yep. Yep. Yeah. And it's a terrible thing. You watch, like I said earlier, I watch women around me all the time and they're spiraling left and right. The saddest thing for me is to go to the grocery store and watch like woman after woman after woman, older women too, with like their 6 items, the yogurt and the crackers. It's like they don't have families. You can tell they live alone in the box, you know, with a cat or two, right? Like I mean, I could taste it on their
You
stomach.
always have to throw in the cat, bro.
Well, because there's a giving up on life, there's a giving up on love, there's a giving up on men, there's a giving up on like, and there's a like they from my
I gotcha.
perspective, a woman can only get her heart broken about 5 times before they give up and become cat ladies. That's a fact. It's not, and it's not funny. It's not cute. It's terrible. But that's what happens when you are never wrangling up your. We talked about this yesterday. The balance of masculine and feminine within you. As a woman, if you're we call ego dystonic, which means your femininity is in the background and you lead your life like a man. Now, again, there's a bunch of good reasons for this: childhood trauma, abuse, all kinds of. I get it. But if a little girl never gets to nurture her feminine, she drives with her masculine, and then it leaves us men indifferent. We don't
Yeah.
care about these ladies. Not that we're mean, it's just that the polarity is gone, right? And we become competitive. Like I said, when you neutralize the energy between men and women, brothers and sisters, no romance, no sex life, right? It's man on man or girl on girl, right? And that stuff depolarizes the whole thing. So that's we know it doesn't work. I want to ask you this though: in the relationship with a woman who is more feminine, not only
Yeah.
did you saw the instinct, right? It's an urge, it's an instincts in our bodies to protect her, right? To make her more comfortable, to make sure she's good.
Mm.
The flip side of it, what did it do to your masculinity? Like what was on the other side for you in that?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It was like, being more protective, being stronger. It also, it I felt like I had something to fight for. Like you said, beyond
Okay,
myself. Go on.
I'm asking this: did you feel more like a man with
Yeah,
her?
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
That's what I'm fucking saying. Excuse my friend. Right.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
happens is a feminine woman who's able to be vulnerable, who's able to receive our support, our help, our opinions, right? Because men need to be needed. We need to land into making sense of our freaking existence. Right. When a woman is receptive, right, to our gifts, our energy, our time, right, all of that, right, it triggers us into masculinity even more.
Yeah.
Again, the opposite of equality is polarized. So the more polarized, the more she can receive, the more she can be vulnerable, the more she can open up, the more she can let you lead because she trusts. Now, again, that takes a minute. And if you damage, it's difficult. I get it. But this is why you need to do your work and heal, because the instinct, what happens energetically is if she, when she's feminine, you'll feel more like a man with her. And if you want to get a man, again, it alleviates that self-doubt, or am I really good enough? Am I capable? Am I like the power of a woman who
Gives
trusts
you
and believes
fire.
gives you like jet fuel, fucking jet fuel, right?
Yeah.
But like so, but again, if you go equality, man on man, so the big tragedy is again, it's all instinct in nature, right? That's all I teach, instincts in nature with chemistry and anthropology and psychology. But uh, the idea, this is another right, sit in and dodge, but the idea that men protect women naturally is what I'm talking about at some level, but it is actually a very this is the part where the ladies get hurt, don't understand, and feel neglected and abandoned.
Yeah.
It's man instinct only are only compelled to protect feminine energy.
And children and innocence.
Anything that's smaller, weaker, and that needs protection, right?
Exactly.
So that's the natural masculine. But man, women will say this, like, I'm pretty, I'm young, I have money, I have all these like perfect bachelors around me at work, and nobody's interested in me. I go, I know, because you're a dude. You're a dude, and he's a dude, and that there's nothing about you that triggers that instinct to, oh, make life better for her, try to protect her, trying to, get that energy around. Like, it's gone, right? So women are like kind of ice cubes. Men don't even see them, recognize them, don't take it. So again, what I'm saying, this is how important that is, ladies, gentlemen, your energy, right? We talked about this yesterday. Your energy introduces you before you open your mouth.
Yeah.
If you're a masculine woman, you disappear from man's radar. You don't get the hero, you don't get the provider, you don't get the protector. Like you just, because masculinity, the energy of masculinity only is compelled to lean in and provide, protect, cherish feminine energy. So it's essential for ladies to get back into energy if you want the life that you all want, which is companionship or marriage and kids. It's just because the women who have that naturally, because they're still out there, right? Even the culture is kind of derailing that quickly. All the, I'm an ordained minister, so I marry people. And, these are the couples who kind of worked that out, whether they had it naturally or had to learn. Most people had to learn because of culture, right? But I want to say this, and this is going to trigger the ladies, but I'm not here to trigger. I'm trying to enlighten. So please, like my intention is really, I'm on your side. I want you to understand and maybe explain some of your pains. But the women who are naturally feminine are taken off the market right away. 25, 26 years old, 27, married, right? Because they're feminine, more traditional, right? Typically more, they're looking for relationships and family building. You know what I mean? They're very capable at work and all that stuff, but that's not primarily who they want to be. They want to be, mothers and wives primarily. So that energy itself magnetizes men towards them. And if you consider that men is still very traditional in our culture, like women have the choice to be traditional or not, go girl, boss babe, right? It's a masculine energy. I get it. However, men's role has never changed. We're still expected to provide, protect, cherish, give support, right? We're supposed with pay, was so for a man to be relevant in the world, to gain self-respect and respect for men and women out there, he has to build something. He has to go for something. He has to discipline himself and conquer something that's huge. And the more he conquers, the more we respect him. And this also, he gets self-respect and confidence and build his character. And these are the guys who want to take out wives and children, right? They want to build a kingdom, put their arms around it, and look what I did. That takes a lot of energy, right? So again, men are still expected to be traditional. Women still want men to pay, to show up, to make the plan, right? To provide, protect, cherish, except a lot of, in our culture, a lot of women refuse or don't want to be traditional, and they're talked out of it. And later on in life, because everybody forgets and I call it the first half of life, that the second life of life is going to knock you in the face, right? If you waste your youth as a woman, in a paradigm that ultimately won't make you happy, masculine, stuck in, like women understand around the age of midlife, 35 to 40, that work is bullshit. Money doesn't make them happy. They're lonely, right? They want to feel safe. They want to be protected, right? But when you would knock this out of them when they're young, they suffer later because in the end they realize, I'm lonely. I want companionship. I want to feel safe. I want somebody to come home to. I'm somebody to have vacations with. It's really all the same. So that paradigm of like what most people consider a good life is really, we're made to be pair bonded. The human beings don't do well isolated, both men and women. So the idea of fighting that till it's too late is, so I'm sounding the alarm, but my point is feminine women get taken off the market right away because masculine men and men are still out there looking for traditional women. The masculine ones are the ones who are struggling and question everything and wonder why. How many clients do I have? 34, 35, 36, 30 years old, single, been 3-5 years without a relationship. Where have you been? This is what I say. Oh, working and building. Okay. Overcalibrated and you're masculine. It's going to produce money, but ultimately the quality of your life is on the other side. So often I sound the alarm like life, the second part of your life is going to be very different than the first part of your life for both men and women. Right? Think it through, plan it out, really consider what it is that you want and how you want to finish, because what's out there, it's what I see all day long, and these are the things that I help my clients with. So we're going against nature, it's going to hurt. You know what I mean? And there's a modern way to do nature, by the way. So I'm not talking about going back to the 50s. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah. I think there's a balance to be had. Because in my experience and the research I've done, we all have masculine, we all have feminine. Yep. I know I have a strong feminine side, and I fucking love that part of myself. Like if someone told me to get rid of that, I'm like, fuck you. Like that's the part of me that loves life. Like that's the part of me that is alive. It's almost the masculine part of me protects the feminine part of me. Yeah. Because the feminine part of me, that's why we love our partners and we love sexual relationships, intimate relationships, because we get to feel that love and that aliveness. And again, like I study human design and I'm, well versed in astrology, gene keys, human design. And so I know that we all have these unique, we're all here for a reason. We all have a purpose. And there's some women who have the fucking alpha chart. Like they're full on alphas. They have the channel, the alpha. They're here to be leaders. They're here to lead humanity forward. And it's like, and so it's like you have your biology, you have evolution, you have these impulses that you're talking about that are true. And polarity is just a fact. It's just what it is, at least in my experience. Nature. And then you also have this deeper aspect of self-individualization, self-realization, and what you're actually here to do. And, imagine telling a woman who is literally here to change the world that you can't do that because, and I know you're not saying that. And where I'm going with this is the way I see it is like, okay, if you're a woman and you have that chart, let's say that you're here to do big things in the world. Okay, look at your biology. You're not really going to be able to have kids past, let's say 35, 40. You can, 35. but you're looking at potential complications. Absolutely. Right. So it's like, but you might know, okay, I'm here to do big things in the world. Like some people can feel it. Me, I've known what my destiny was. Like I could feel it in some sense since I was young. I knew there was something that I wanted to create. And especially by the time I was 22, it was like, I knew what I was here to do. Mm-hmm. So there's going to be some women that are going to also know that, feel that, be like, oh man, I'm here for big things. But I also have to figure out, because if I do the big things before the children, before the family, I'm fucked. Because then it's like I build my empire, but now I'm 50 and it's like, I don't have a family. I don't have children. I now need to adopt. Nothing wrong with adopting, but just know that adoption is not the same as having your own children. Good day. No, it's a different thing. Again, it's evolutionary. So where I'm going with this is, what is your perspective on, again, the fact that we all have masculine, feminine, we all have our unique purpose in life, and some women are going to be here to do big things, and some men are just going to have very tender charts, right? And
Yep.
so how do you see, let's go into the nuances now. We've talked about the generalizations, we've talked about
Yep.
the major truths. Let's go into nuance. What would you say to a woman, and do you have any clients who, let's say, have been traumatized by men, have been hurt, have been really in their masculine? What Okay, so here's, I guess, two questions. When you work with a woman who's been really hurt and traumatized, she has a strong masculine side.
Yep.
What Let's just go in this one actually right now. So what happens once you work with her for a while? You heal her trauma. She feels safe. What happens to that boss babe?
Well, nature again does what it does, and again they come to me when they realize they're not happy. This isn't working. They're exhausted. They're tired. It's not worth it. The money doesn't they just want to stop fighting and competing and doing it alone, right? It's like to compete in the world is to often being a lone wolf, right? You're trying to get on top of everybody, which is masculine, right? Masculine have the masculine men have that testosterone that we find competition tantalizing. It's exciting. It's fun, right? For the women, it's just not. It's just so. When they come to me, they typically are at the end of that. Like they realize my mother lied to me, my culture lied to me, feminists lied to me. Like none of that I'm supposed to be, I've been, and I'm not happy, right? Ouch. Beautiful. So they come to me like, okay, come on. I've seen what you did with my girlfriend. I've seen what you did with my friend. Like I want some of that. She's like a different person all of a sudden. And what I explain to them is that, if you're ego dystonic, we talked about this earlier, right? We both have masculine and feminine. And if you're tilted completely and your feminine has been neglected, again, you're you're stuck. You're really, really stuck because you're masculine and you it's hard to be vulnerable. It's hard to let people help. It's hard to be right. And an interesting thing that happens a lot, which is fascinating because they're still women, right? And one of the women's primary function, I guess is the word, or go-to, is to be nurturing, right? Mothering is nurturing, right? So these women that are tilted in the masculine typically are nurturers on steroids. They nurture everything and everyone. They step in, they help, right? You don't have to ask them. They're right there to be like to be the hero, which is masculine, to other than the woman and the family, right? So they typically constantly overgive. And get this. So, here we go. This is kind of beautiful. Thank you for this. Watch nature again. I'm going to explain to you nature really quickly, physiologically for men and women, right? So men have big shoulders to take on the world and small hips to give. Look at the nature of our bodies. Women receive us and give back. Are you with me? That's the nature of men. So men will create out of nowhere, typically, right? Like to build to fight, build to conquer, build to build something. Give to women, women receive to give back, right? So what happens when a woman is masculine is she loses the ability to receive because that's weak, that's passive, that makes her needy, right? Complete backwards. That's not how men see it, but that's what a masculine woman will feel. I have to be tough, I have to show them. And so that giving energy gets on steroids. So they overgive, override, overprotect, overhelp. And very soon, because they're not receiving to replenish, right? This is when they get anxious, angry. No one's helping me. Nobody's ever here for me. I have to do everything myself, right? But it's really self-fulfilling prophecy of being stuck in the masculine. So that's a tragedy, right? So again, if you're tilted, right, and you're a boss babe, that's fantastic. But I say, and you probably heard me say this is crass, but you could be a boss babe all you want, all day long. But at the end of the day, leave your balls at work. Leave your freaking balls at work. Because this was happening. Because when you're stuck in that energy, your balls in everybody's face all day long. And men won't have it. Men find it very irritating and repulsive even, right? And women will react to you differently. And like there's an anxiousness to it. There's a you know what I mean? There's masculine women typically are not relaxed in their bodies. They're anxious and pressured. Right? They create. My sister is one of them. She walks into space and instead of warming up the room, she creates anxiety.
Mm.
That's the problem. So now everything around you changes because you have an effect on men and women and children and everything around you in that energy, and you feel abandoned and neglected, and no one sees you, no one wants to help you. You lost the ability to receive. So what I do with my clients is we dismantle obviously the trauma, literally get it off their nervous system, so they have a chance to really release the fear, release the trauma, right? And kind of now be present in this moment and relearn how to step into your feminine and relearn the beauty of that and the majestic power of that. I say this all the time, that a woman's femininity is her superpower. Much more powerful than her balls, much more powerful than being masculine. It just is, right? Like and like, but the culture says femininity is stupid, gets you nowhere, and it's passive. No, no, no. Because a feminine woman, when she radiates the energy, attracts men who want to protect her, give, protect, cherish, right? Women are nicer to her, right? Children smile and dogs come sniffing. It's a magnet. So you have one way of being that's masculine that pushes the world away from you. You feel isolated, alone, and abandoned. The other one, you can't trust anybody. You can't receive. The other one pulls the whole world towards you. Like you said earlier, masculine men in the presence of femininity just want to surround it, want to protect it. It's precious. It breathes life into us. It's a natural instinct. So you can be a boss babe, right? But when you get off of work, leave that shit there and know how to be a woman in the world. And the most, to me, the most satisfying part of this, of helping women understand this part and cultivate this part back, is that when you're masculine, you don't meet masculine men, you only meet feminine men. The players, the cheaters, the dogs, right? The manipulators, that became yin yang, right? Masculine energy will attract feminine men. Feminine men unstable and take your money, take your time, take your sex, whatever, right? You end up being their mom. So they always have a girlfriend on the side, by the way. You find out 3 years later. It's horrible. So we know what doesn't work, right? If you invert the roles, it's a shit show for the ladies, especially. So when I help them out of this and they start cultivating this, and when that energy shows up, that radiant, magnetic, feminine just shows up a little bit, even a little bit in the beginning, right? And I get them to look up and pay attention to who's looking, because men are always looking. And all of a sudden they catch eyes. I go, catch the eyes of the guys that are looking, right? And then give them a smile, right? And they get a smile back or good morning, right? And so to discover the true nature of man, the heroes that we're all born to be, the masculine ones, not the feminine one, right? The man, women start understanding they're not surrounded with dangerous human beings. They're surrounded by heroes who are right there to provide, protect, to cherish, to help, right? It's interesting. So like to watch their kind of fall back into the feminine and kind of like relax in their bodies, learn to trust, because now they understand what a real man is, what it looks like, what they do. Even ask for his help, because when a man helps, he feels more like a man because of you. Like reward him by thanking him for helping you. Watch him puff up. Absolutely, anytime at all, right? Like that's what we do. So you have the power to make men more masculine because of your asking for help and support. It's not weak. It's not passive. That's not how we see it. We see it as like, I could be a hero. You see it? So when you cultivate that side, the channels of like nature and the nature of male, and now being able to magnetize that your way, ladies, the body relaxes, the nervous system relaxes, the anxiety goes away. I'll give you an example that's going to take it home. My gym is enormous, and there's the workout room, or the aerobics room, is on the other side completely. So from the front door, you have to go through like 100-foot gym, right? That's 70 feet wide. It's huge. It's enormous. It's like an arena. It's like like a football field full of equipment. And on the other side is so one of the ladies who teaches the aerobics class or whatever is like 102-pound tiny little squirt, right? Like a lot of these fitness people are. They're very thin, very fit, right? But for months, me and my friends at the gym, because obviously the aisle is in the middle of the gym, so whichever side, right? And she would like zoom into the gym in a frenzy, like butt cheek clenched, literally. Like you could see, like her hips were tight and stressed out. You could see it in her hips. I could. Crazy. And she would like look straight forward and like, oh my God, 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 until she got to the studio. And then she could, in that space, feel safe and relax and teach. On the way back, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, right? So I remember thinking, we used to look at her going, she's out of her mind. This woman is completely crazy. Like you could see the madness in her energetically, but you could feel it, right? You felt bad for her, but like, like that, this is not normal. Do you know what I mean? Come to find out, one day I ran into her just face to face, and I looked into her eyes, and I just broke my heart. I saw all of her pain. I saw all of her anxiety. I saw all the abuse. I broke my heart. It broke my heart. So I let go of she's crazy. I just saw the pain. I'm like, oh my God, this poor little thing. And it took a minute for me to be able to even bring it up to her. Like, I see you. I feel you. You're not okay. Is there anything I could do? And that happened probably 6 weeks later. And we're like, she started crying, and we're sitting in the corner. I'm crying because I picking all this shit up, right? Because I'm like you, very empath. Like I tap right in, and we tell, and I discover her story, right? Abused, sexually abused, attacked. One time she was attacked like as a young girl, and beat the shit. Some guy was trying to rape her. She's fighting, so he beat the hell out of her, right? Like she's 102 pounds, so always feeling right. But her entire life was men are dangerous. Her entire life is she had to protect herself. So zooming across the room to get to this, because there's 50 men that are threatening. They're a threat to her. All these creatures with penises are dangerous, right? That's their entire existence. So the frenzy, right? But again, this is how you made it work. This is how a woman explodes, right? Like not feeling safe like this. Eventually, the anxiety of this makes you physically sick, right? So again, too much adrenaline. We now know, there's a fight and flight way of living in that space, and we now know that adrenaline in your bloodstreams for 20, 25 years. We now call that cancer training. It destroys and burns out your organs from the inside, from that anxiety, from that fight and flight, from living, right? Okay, so long story short, we started working together, right? Kind of dismantle all the really just everyone who had hurt her as a kid, as a young woman, release the trauma, and then learn the true nature of man. Again, when you know boys, guys, and men, and you know how to avoid boy, life is safer as a woman. You can never be in swindle, played, or take advantage of. So that is a huge a huge
Release.
relief. It's a huge relief of really kind of not knowing what kind of guys, and not trusting men because you attract the bad one. Anyway, my point is, she now walks through the gym. It takes her 30 seconds longer to get there because she walks through the gym, and then she looks left and right. Hi guys, hey Anthony, Tony, how are you? So the same woman a year ago who was terrified moment to moment every time she was in public, every time she walked to her car, every time she, had to go through a parking lot or an escalator, an elevator, right? Freaked out, adrenalized, dangerous for her body, dangerous for her health. Now walks through the gym, understanding the true nature of men because she experienced it slowly, and actually makes a point to say hi to the guys. At one point, when she could receive that, it took a minute because it's a practice. I did this to my wife too. My wife goes to the same gym, but at different times. And I introduced both of them to some of my boys. Right? I go, babe, this is Anthony. Anthony's always here 7 days a week. Anybody bothers you? Anybody weird? Anthony, if my wife comes to you, would you protect her? Dude, absolutely. Come. And he looks right in their face. Come and ask me. There's a couple of creeps here, not very many, but if somebody creeps you out, just come at me. I went to Christopher. I went to Anthony. I went to Christopher, and I went to Zach. right? Zach's 6'3", blah, 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 right? So these are guys, regulars, like gym rats like me. But I introduce my wife to the three. I introduce the other girl to the three. And all of a sudden, instead of being freaked out walking to the gym, and my wife doesn't have that, but I like to know, for her to know that she's safe when I'm not there, because I have my boys to protect you, right? So now that the teacher, like I said, I introduced her into the man and asked the same thing. Dude, absolutely. And she couldn't believe it. But now she has a room full of allies of safety as opposed to being afraid in the world. And now she does stuff like ask anybody when it's dark, because it's about to get dark, earlier nowadays. She will ask me or any dude present who she's made contact with, smiles, and are just natural males, can you walk me to my car? She never could do that before. That would be weak, right?
Mm.
Understand that for her to stay in her body, for her to stay present, for her to stay calm, for her to feel safe, you just need to ask a guy to help. And guys are like, absolutely. Thank you so much. You're such a gentleman. Anytime at all. And men take pride in that. Right? That's the yin yang. That's the juice. Anyway, so you see what I'm saying? So the tragedy for the ladies is they get stuck the other way. And there's a way to do both. To me, in my world, the true badass is a woman who knows how to be masculine when needed to and produce, and let go on the other side and be feminine and be in the world with men who will just do everything for you to be comfortable and often help you with your business, help you with the things that's what we do. We're helpers at our core and providers. Let us. But anyway, did I just go up?
Oh, you just shared a lot, man. That no, don't apologize, man. You just created a panorama. You outlined the point very thoroughly. And
good.
Yeah, man. That's how I see it. I think a lot of people are very traumatized. I think I pretty much our entire Western population is traumatized. It's not just women. Men are incredibly
absolutely. I mean, I talked about this last night, right? I think I see that everyone is heartbroken, really, and at the bottom.
Oh yeah,
heartbroken. Like if I ask anybody, what was it like to be 5 years old? What's your heart say? And they just start bawling. Like,
yeah, dude.
Abandon, neglect, abuse, sexual abuse. So everyone's got a heart to mend, and that's what I call doing your work.
Yeah.
And until you do this, you're going to show up in the world ego-dystonic, backwards, both men and women. Men will stay in their feminine, women will get stuck in their masculine, and the quality of your life long term will suffer. It's not what works best. It's not what nature calls. And being isolated and alone for both men and women is a terrible, terrible way to end life.
Yeah, dude. I 100%. It's yeah, my mission in my life is to cultivate both masculine and feminine, and just know when to use them.
That's it. That's the magic.
Yeah, it's like in relationships, in romantic relationships, I primarily enjoy being masculine. I do love the protector archetype. And it's like it feels very good to be believed in. I think like that like as you said, the wind in the sails feels beautiful. And like so far in my life, like my closest friendship is with a man is very, very tender. It's also very masculine sometimes. Like, well, man, like depending on the conversation, sometimes we have a heart to heart and we just talk about our feelings and life, and that's sacred to me, because it's like if you can't talk about your feelings with anybody, it's like you're not living life. You're playing a role, but you're not alive. Again, as I said before, the feminine is what's alive. It's like the masculine is like the role that protects the life itself. And it's like, I think, yeah, it's cultivating both and knowing when to use them. And yeah, and just knowing what you want in a relationship. And I know with me, I haven't been in a committed relationship in a long time.
Mm,
And for me, because, I was betrayed at 20. And so for
yeah,
me, like, dude, I'm 29. I haven't been in a serious romantic relationship in 9 years
yeah.
since I was 20, man. Like, just like rebuilding myself and
Trauma, trauma.
trauma, man.
Betrayal on men is the worst.
Oh, dude, I
The
didn't.
worst.
It wasn't until very recently I even trusted women. It
Yeah,
was like,
absolutely.
but it was all subconscious. It was consciously like, oh, I love women.
Right, 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 right,
I'm
right.
close to my mother. Like, there's some great women in my life. But what I noticed is a lot of the women who I'd be friends with would be older, so it wouldn't be the relationship
Right, dynamic.
age possibility, right?
Right,
Because
right.
I'm like, yeah, women my age just cheat and they play
Yep,
games.
yep.
And so now for the first time in my life, I'm actually at a place where I'm like, oh, I'm actually ready for a relationship.
Mm,
And so I'm I guess I'll say it. I'm talking to somebody right now.
mhm.
We're not very progressed in it. It's very new. And at the moment, like, everything you're saying is I'm experiencing what it feels like to be believed in and and masculine, and it feels fantastic.
Mm. Yep.
Um, I haven't got to the point yet. What is your perspective on every once in a while switching up the polarity? So she takes the masculine player every
Yep.
once in a
Yep. Yep.
while, you play the feminine, just so you can see the part of your partner that you would never be able to actually even know exists if you were
Mm.
always playing the same roles in polarity.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, honestly, we constantly go a little bit back and forth,
Hmm.
constantly, because we both have masculine and feminine. Understanding that men have profound, deep, deep feelings, but nature and our instinct says, shut the hell up. Don't show your weaknesses. Don't show your feelings because people will use it against you. Right? Even don't share your strengths. Men will be like black belt karate dudes and don't tell anybody because they're going to
Yeah.
surprise you with it. They're going to surprise you. Go ahead, come at me, see what happens to you. Right? Like, so we would call we hold everything back naturally. We're stoic. We don't share what's going on inside of us because part of it is protection. Part of it is um, not not knowing my weaknesses and on my strength. So there's a solidness to that. But women want us to share our feelings with them, right? Like, what are you thinking? What are you doing, right? Because women, because of their essence of the nature of women, um, they're so aware of everything that could go wrong. This is why I want to put it, right? That if you don't talk to her, she's wondering what you're thinking. Are you still liking her? Are you thinking of leaving her? Are you thinking of talking to another girl? Who are the women you're talking to at work? Like, and what do you tell them about me? And so, right, there's kind of a bit of an obsession. It's a little bit neurotic. No, straight up neurotic about women constantly questioning their man and this commitment. And, is he, if, right? So, um, that's kind of built in. It's natural kind of thing, but we don't know this. So for us, stoic is the go-to to stay safe, right? And to be solid and to should not show our weaknesses. But for them, they want to know what's going on inside because, right? They don't know. So if you don't talk to her and share with her sort of some of the things that you're thinking more than feeling, I'm going to get that to a second, right? You want her to know what's going on when you're quiet. You want her to know, well, I'm a little bit off right now. I had this long day of work and we have this problem that I'm not sure I'm going to solve. Love you. It's not you. I'm just sort of caught up in that. Oh, now she knows. She's fine. Right? But we tend to say nothing. And women
Hmm.
think that makes us shallow and cold, indifferent to them, right? Self-centered. No, it's often we get stuck in our heads. That's part of being masculine. So to share a little bit of what's like when you're out, especially when you're out of sort, to share with her, it's not you, it's what I'm going through kind of thing, will appease her, questioning, neurotic kind of, is it me? Is it me? Is it me? Is it trying to, right? However, I want to say this, right? In our culture now, trying to make men vulnerable and talkative and sweet and good boys, because women will ask, please, what are you thinking? Share your feelings with me. How do you feel about me? That's all fine. But men, I do a lot of men's work, and that's what men's work is for. Only a man can help a man with his men problems. So you can be vulnerable, you could cry, like you and your buddy, right? This like all this stuff that haunts you, that destroys you, that you're struggling with, having been, betrayed, or, like your relationship with yourself, your sexuality, like all these things that men go through, it has to be processed with other men. And that's, again, only men can help men with their men problems. So I encourage men to get into communities of mentoring, men mentoring. There's all over the planet. There are mentoring groups of men everywhere where you'll be invited to, and just because men on men are like this, will mentor you, will support you, whatever, right? Whatever you're going through, this is what we do. We love you before we even know you. You're a man who's struggling. We understand. We all struggle. We need each other. Boom. It's a beautiful formula, right? The mistake that men make is to share their doubt, their feelings, their lack of feeling strong with their women. Women say, I want you to share your feelings with me. But when he does share his fears, when he feels inadequate, when he feels incapable, cave woman, because it's an instinct again, sees him as weak. And often women will lose respect for the man. So it's not that men don't have deep feelings, profound feelings, but the idea of dumping that on your girl is a kiss of death in a relationship. She will not be able to respect you if she sees you as weaker than her. If she has to hold you up, if she has to support you, if she has to mother you emotionally, she loses it. So women say, we want sweet, sensitive, men, we're in touch with their feelings. No, you don't. Absolutely not. It doesn't work. It destroys the relationship. What you want is a masculine man who's in touch with your feeling. That's the difference. You see what I'm saying?
So this is interesting. So,
isn't it?
Because I've felt exactly what you're talking about before, and I call it bleeding out. So when you are sharing your feelings, oh man, I'm so scared and a lot of the time when I've done that in the past, there's been a subconscious indication of essentially, I want you to become my mother right now and nurture me.
Yep.
Now, what I'm in the process of doing with myself is cultivating the ability to share my emotions, but taking full responsibility and ownership for them. And maybe even saying, and I'd love your perspective on this after, like one thing I want to develop, because my number one thing with my life is authenticity. Is like, I don't like, it's more of like a philosophy, but I don't like the idea of hiding things from people. And I'm not saying you're saying hiding things, but it's like, I'm like, I want to be able to stand wherever I'm at right now. So if I'm afraid, can I stand in that fear and to be responsible for it and not ask people to help me with it? I think that, from my experience, is where it gets into weakness, is when you're sharing an emotion with the hope that the other person protects you, nurtures you, maybe even helps you with it, or does. I think the problem is when you share your feelings with the hope that they will do something to alleviate whatever you're feeling.
Ta-da.
Where in my experience, I actually feel very powerful sometimes admitting my fear, like, hey, I'm fucking terrified right now. But it's like, there's like, this is my responsibility. This is the thing I'm dealing with. I know I'm going to be okay. And I think a part of this too comes into our relationship with God, universe, source, higher self, inner self, spirit, like whatever that thing is. I think, because my number one thing I'm doing right now in my life, and me and you have had deep conversations about this, is developing my connection with this deeper part of myself. Because once I'm rock solid with my relationship with my higher self, inner self, or whatever, then it doesn't matter what I'm dealing with, what I'm anxious about, what I am afraid of, because I know that, hey, I chose this life. I chose this destination. I know I'm protected. I know I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. I know if I have $2 in the bank, I'm meant to have $2 right now, because this is the path I chose for myself, and everything has led to this moment. And so I think when I have an unshakable belief in myself in the higher order of things,
Yep.
then I no longer need nurturing in the same way from people. Yes, it's beautiful to be in pain and someone to just give you a hug. That's beautiful. That's also
Yep.
beyond needing somebody. It's just the endorphins. It's the
Chemistry.
it's the oxytocin, the chemistry, and everything. So I think, like, because I know there's a lot of, relationship coaches I've listened to where I've always felt a little bit off. I'm like, okay, I feel like I need more authenticity than pretending I'm something that I'm not in this moment. So I think, yeah, what's your perspective on radical, powerful authenticity, even in the face of fear, but taking full responsibility for it?
I think that's the ultimate masculine go-to. I think we build ourselves up through the fears and through conquering everything, like from like little kids on. You know what I mean? The concept again, am I good enough? Am I big enough? Can I be? I want to be the greatest at everything, but I don't know that I could do it. It's to really conquer our fears, conquer our self-doubt, conquer our challenges, conquer whatever it is that we're fighting with internally, or feelings and emotions. But it's in the conquering that we get settled. It's in the conquering that we go, huh, look what I just did, right? It's the conquering that we get self-confidence and build our character. So again, a man who gets to that point where I want to say this, and I don't know if it's going to sound weird, but I've been so terrified as a kid my entire life, right? And I've had to like kind of raise myself and battle everything on my own without family.
Terrified of what specifically?
At 5 years old, I think you know the story, that I realized I was born in the wrong family, and I didn't belong here, and some mistake was made somewhere in the universe. And so like I literally felt like I'm alone in the world, and these people aren't my people. They don't like me. I don't like them, right? They're alone in family of 7, right? Terrifying.
Yeah.
5 years old, right? Like what do you do with that? And that was the
Wow.
beginning of my feistiness, right? I realized I had to go to raise myself. I had to take care of myself. I was on my own. There was nobody to talk to, nobody to guide. There was dictatorship in the house. It doesn't work. You know what I mean? Like everything, like I'm not important. I'm not important. I don't even belong. Get out of here. Get out of here. Right.
Yeah.
So like big hold of my heart. But so the whole you took me right there. I see myself as a 5-year-old in that moment. Ugh.
Yeah, man.
No, it's just, it was scary as hell.
Yeah.
What I had to do from there is really take it on myself and become resilient. I didn't think I was going to be here very long because I don't belong here. I'm a mistake. So I am just going to, but there was always something pulling in my heart. I think you said the same thing. No, there's something for you to do here. It's bigger than you. Keep going through my teen years and my young adulthood and stuff. But my point is I was so afraid. I was so terrified, starting at the age of 5, of being completely on my own and having no resources, no help. That you can't scare me any longer.
Yeah.
Nothing fucking scares me any longer because I've been through it all. Like, in business, with money, with relationships, with friends, with acquaintances, with being a bit of a celebrity, and that complete mind fuck that comes with that, and kind of pivot, and always kind of regaging to me. Who am I? Who do I want to be? Who do I want to be? Who do I want to be? I don't know, right? But it took some banging around, and to the point now that life is an avalanche of challenges, right? You go smooth for a minute, and then life goes boom. There's one on your head, and then boom, boom. They come in 3 often, and when it happens, I look up and I go, "Really, 3? Can we just spread them out a little bit for Christ's sake?" Right? Oh, you have three in a row. Okay. But my reaction now, because I've conquered myself, I know I'm gonna survive. I know I'm gonna be fine. I know I'm gonna learn something. I'm gonna be more resilient. It's like I know all the goodies are coming. So I don't invite the crap, but I don't fight it. It comes and I go, all right, well, let's see what I do with this. Watch me work it out. That's where my head goes to. Watch me work it out. And I'll be stronger, better, more aware, whatever it is that I learn in the process of it. So I think that's the space you're talking about, right? To get to a place where you have a sense of self that is so solid, that you could literally truly be yourself. And Like, you don't need to protect yourself. You don't need to hide yourself. You just are, because nobody can knock you off your pedestal in some ways, right? I'm like a big sap. You see me cry like all the time. I'm a big sap. Talk about like, my feminine energy is right there. By the way, part of this work that I do with clients is all feminine, right? I'm teaching, right? I'm supporting and nurturing. It's all right. So after I do stuff like this all day long, I go to the garage and tinker with my car, scratch my ass, burp, like this. There's always a kind of bringing myself back into my body after kind of being in my heart all day long, right? But I can do both, really, back and forth, like almost instantaneously. But I've had a lifetime to get here. You know what I mean? And so, but I promise you, part of me being able to be good with myself was a lot of the men's work that I did, the mentoring and the being supported and held and loved and by men, they're my brothers, literally my brothers, who all they wanted is for me to be good, as I wish them, so we constantly worked together. Once a week, get together and did the work, and did a lot of release work, did a lot of energy work, did a lot of NLP work, and it's which I do today. But like, they saved my life. They allow me to discover me fully, my strength and my weaknesses and my willingness. But like I said, at this point now, like you can't really shake me. You can't really shake me. I'll learn something. I don't welcome the shit. Like I said, I just don't mind it. I know it's going to push me in a different level, right? It's this constant growth. That's what life is. So yes, so conquer yourself, go get some support, and find who you are inside, outside, within the man that you want to be, the world that you want to create. But we don't do this alone. We don't do this alone. We need women to inspire us. We need men to support us in the way that only men can support men. Yin yang, here it is again, masculine and feminine, mix it up. We all need that. Whoosh. Whoosh.
Yeah, dude. I feel you, man. And I think, like, for me, it's something I really love about you. Just that balance of masculine and feminine. It's like, I remember the first time we met, like, it was more, I think the first time we met, it was more masculine oriented. And I was like, I really like this dude. And then as I shared earlier in the off air, that second conversation we had, like, because I think one question in the back of my head the first time was I was wondering if you were who you said you were, effectively. Right. As you always do when you meet somebody. Sure. People say a lot of things. Yep. And you wonder, I wonder, what are your, are there things to this person they're not even aware of? Do they have blind spots? Do they think they're more evolved than they are? And then it's like that second time we talked, like, it was when you started crying about your mom. Like, when you were talking about your relationship with her, I was like, I really felt your heart. And I really felt kind of, I'm like, wow, it's a beautiful human being. And it was like, I felt like at that point, like, I could see myself being like brothers with you. Just, and then, like, you just sharing here about going back to being 5 years old, and man, I feel you, dude. It's like, there's sometimes, like, I don't know your experience with this, but I often feel like I'm multiple people. Like, there's a one part of me which is like world conqueror Anton, and this is like the part of me that's just like, like I'm gonna create a media empire, like, the Anton network. And I just feel like I remember being, do you know Landmark?
Yes, of course, I've done Landmark.
Yeah, me too. So I've done, and I remember there's a forum leader that she told me, it was really interesting. I was 20 years old, I think, at the time. And she said, Anton, you have the potential to be a world leader, but you're too arrogant. Like,
wow.
Yeah. And it's funny because now it's like, I sometimes forget how arrogant I was. Like, and I still am. Like, I definitely still have arrogance. Like, I have these wild dreams, but like I really took that to heart. When she said that, she told me that, and I've been, because all the arrogance was like insecurity. He was feeling
Mm.
like an imposter and feeling like
Right.
and I even still catch myself doing it sometimes.
Mhm.
A lot of the time on podcasts on air, it's like I notice a lot of the time I'm a slightly different person than I am. I'm more relaxed when I'm not on camera. And it's like I'm probably a little bit more feminine, a little bit more tender, maybe a little uh more of a sense of humor. And it's
Mm.
like for me, it's I feel like my work is in healing my insecurities, healing my traumas, with my dad and my brother would be the two biggest ones.
Straight up.
Never feeling like you, like what, like I still to this day, dude, like I don't even feel like my family is my family. It's like
Right.
I feel like I'm like my mom, I know is like a soul sister, like past lifetimes. We've even done past life regressions. And like we were in Egypt together, we were brothers. Like we've had a lot of lifetimes together. Our soul fractal goes back a lot of lifetimes. But like my brother, like, and my sister and my dad feel like still to this day, like especially my brother, strangers.
Strangers. Yeah.
And it is the most bizarre thing. It's like I can't even believe they're my family sometimes.
Oh God.
And it's like it's so wild. And it's like the connection I have with you is like that soul brotherhood. The connection I have with my mother is that soul brotherhood.
Mm.
The connection I have with my friend Ian, or Amber, or like Jordan. Like there's a lot of people in my life that I'm starting to pick up, and I see it now more as like I'm finding my soul family. It's
Yeah.
like I'm finding the people. And like at first, when I only knew one or two of them, it was like it didn't feel like a soul family. It felt like, oh, I'd found this person that I'm connected to, or this person. But now, like as I pick up more and more, I'm going like, oh, I think I'm finding my soul family, like my soul
Yep.
tribe. And
Try.
and now I think what I'm wanting to cultivate is like finding a way to bring all of you guys together. Like
Mm.
find a way to, like I always see it like the Avengers. It's like I feel like there's like this like big, you can call it a war going on if you want to get conspiratorial and start talking about all the stuff going on in the
Yeah.
world. There's like good and evil, it
Right.
feels like, at a mythological sense. And
Mm.
if you want to get more spiritual, it might even be literal, like good and evil. And the thing is, I believe there's definitely shit going on. I just haven't had my own fundamental experiences with evil yet to the point where I can say I definitively know it, because I know in the past I've thrown things out way too eagerly. Like I'll research Elizabeth April, I'll research this, and I'll be like, yeah, I know this stuff exists. And then I'm like, Anton, you don't know it exists. You believe somebody who feels like they know it exists.
Right.
And that's why I always say, like, I'm wanting to develop my own astral psychic abilities, astral traveling, because I'm like, I like, not only do I want to know if this stuff exists, I feel like I need to know, because I
Mm.
feel like I feel like my life path is literally going in this direction of like an intergalactic adventurer, where I'm like,
I love it.
I want to talk to aliens, and I want to know this stuff exists. Again, like I grew up, man, like I love like Lord of the Rings and Star Wars and like Harry Potter and shit. Like,
Yeah.
there's this like, and all of that, like all fantasy is like mythological fundamentally.
Yep.
It's, it's the fantasy. It's like, Harry, you're a wizard, Harry, which is effectively, you're part of the Galactic Federation, Anton. Like it's the same archetype. It's this person like you who felt, I don't belong here. What the fuck? These people are not my family. Like this is not my world. I feel like planet Earth is not my thing. And
Yep.
it's like I think like all of us, like you and me and my friend Ian and all the people in my life that have this feeling of like, maybe like a more of a spiritual quest. I think we're all, I think that's why a lot of us are drawn to, I don't know if you are. I know you're drawn to like music and dancing and creativity and art. I don't know if you're ever into like fantasy and stuff, but for me, it's like I love that stuff because a lot of the time it feels like a metaphor for my life,
Mm. Metaphor for your life. The fantasies?
Well, yeah, because again, a lot of fantasy is mythological. I feel a lot of
Yeah.
fantasy is the one genre that can tap into pretty much every aspect of life. Because if you watch like a drama movie, they're not going to get into parallel realities and science
Right.
fiction and like the possibility of fairies and angels and
Right.
demons. It's like fantasy is the only place where you can get drama, you can get comedy, you can get any other aspect of life, and you can get the more metaphysical thing. And so
Mm.
for me, it feels like a metaphor for my life, because in a lot of ways I feel like I am this seeker who's trying to figure out what the fuck life's about, and what my role is. What is my role? Because I don't feel like I'm here to be on the sidelines. I don't feel like I'm here to just listen to other people's podcasts about crazy shit. I'm like, nah, dude, I'm here to like figure this shit out for myself. You know,
Right.
like what's your perspective and your
I
experience and all that?
I I think that's a human experience. That's the point, right? Who are you here to be? Were you born to be, right? And most of us, come here and we forget everything, right? We choose to come here and then we forget the moment we're born, and then we battle this: who the hell am I? Why am I here? Why am I here? Do you know that most people? It's interesting. Most people don't have that question mark on their hearts ever. Most people don't walk around with "Why am I here?"
Do you think they don't have it internally, or do you think they're blind to it because they have so many distractions and trauma?
I think there's different versions of awareness in spirituality in every way, and so we know that everybody's here to live their purpose on some level. Nobody's here randomly. Nobody's here to be miserable, right? But people also come in with their karma from and
Hmm.
generational karma, which will get in their way, and they have to learn, right? So there's different like awareness, I want to say, of that. So people have different lives experiences completely per their generational trauma, where they're here to work through, and how, if they have the courage to lean in, to fight for it, to work through, as opposed to kind of. But it's fascinating to think that one of us who kind of seem to be a little bit on a different space from the get-go, the first question is, why am I here? What is it I'm supposed to do? Right? What is the seeking? And is there like questioning life itself that the rest of the world doesn't really walk around with? Interestingly.
When did that, like, do you remember being 5 or 10 and a half? Like, I don't remember any of those questions, but I felt it. I
It's
felt
an,
like,
yeah. Yeah, no, because it's only, in early childhood, like, you don't have words, you don't have, you know what I mean? All you have
mm,
is feelings.
yeah.
Like, so this is why most people realize their trauma in the age of around the age of 5, 6, 7, right? It's because then the brain can connect with the feelings, and then you become,
Uh,
and that's what happened to me that day. Like, I understood my feelings that I had since the day I was born. Boom. Oh shit. I don't belong here. I'm a terrible mistake, right? And then the panic that comes with, but I guess so. There's that kind of connecting the dots. I think that's an awakening moment. Not everybody gets that, seemingly. Like I said, like you talked about your brothers and sisters, and I look at them, I'm like, how did they? Why? Why did they get up in the morning?
yeah.
What? What? This? What? You know what I mean? Now, not to judge and not to feel superior on myself, but I think we know that everything is energy, everything is vibration, everything is frequency. And what I think you're talking about is, as you elevate yourself, get to become the man that you are pulled to become, even though you forgot, you got to fight for it and earn it and get there. Like me, it took me 3 phases of my life to get here. And I now realize all
Hmm.
of that bullshit was to get me here, right? Like all of it. It's got me resilient and fighting and feisty and leaning in, and fuck you, like, oh fuck, right, and just fighting all the way through to really realize this is the little thing in my heart that was always, now keep going, you're here to do something big. Took 50 years, right? So like that's the conquering of finding yourself, I want to say. But what you're talking about as well, it was just kind of magical. And I want you to be really aware of this because it's going to help you. I didn't realize that till much later. Is is when you consciously understand, I guess the vibration that where you resonate at, right? As you cultivate that side of you, you vibrate differently, right? And you have people in your world, and you want to be very discerning of people who vibrate the same way.
Oh
I've been
yeah.
stuck with lower energy people in the name of loyalty, friends forever, right? And understanding we don't jive, but I'm loyal, right? This is part of the masculine qualities that men have. They're loyal. They don't let go of stuff just because it doesn't feel the same or whatever, right? Loyalty is a big one, and that I pay for that shit, dude, like over and over and over and over. And so now and the price to pay for that, right? Energetically and energy wise, to just be like in thrown in limbo because you didn't listen to your gut or realize that you're not vibrating with somebody who's really on your frequency and on your side. So I think exactly what you said is the point of us all is to find our tribe. Do you know what I mean? And you have this tribe and you have that tribe. Yeah, you have this party or that party. We know this, right? So okay, and that there's sort of a finding yourself, right, and discovering what you're here to do for humanity as your mission in life. That's the gift. That's the gift. That's the way I see it. That's the way I lived it. It's crazy because I'll say this to my clients because of everything I've gone through, everything you go through, we develop an intuition for it with empathy. We can connect emotionally. People don't have to tell me what's going on with them. I pick it up energetically. Like, you don't have to say anything. I just be in your presence, and I'll feel what you're feeling. Right? It's very helpful in my work. But all of that, all those gifts came from the trauma, right? From not letting myself collapse, fall down, and push through it, right? So pain creates a lot of empathy. Pains create a lot of awareness. Pains create a lot of, wanting to do better in life and not wanting anybody to go through that pain. And right. So the difference between an empath and a narcissist is the empaths don't ever want people anywhere around them to feel as bad as they did, where narcissists go, forget the world, fuck them all. They screwed me, and now they want to fight back. Same trauma, two different, end result kind of thing. So, so with that, like I said, understanding my past, the madness of my past, right? And like, my dad's passed now, my mom's still here, as you know. But even a few years back, before my dad passed, I had these fantasies, right? Because of everything they put me through and everything. They have no idea what I went through. Like, I disappeared from their lives for like almost a decade as when I was younger, and nobody's ever asked.
Andre.
Yeah.
So what I'm thinking, let's continue this. So I have to go to the bathroom. Let's take a bathroom break, and then we'll come back and we'll dive into this. And also, just for everyone watching on the LTS network, this is the end of the episode over there. And so if you want to check out the rest of the podcast with Andre and I, click the link down below. It's currently free. You're going to be brought to another podcast on my side of things. So again, it's currently free. And yeah. So also, before we go for this bathroom break, Andre, for everyone watching and listening, where can people find you? And are there any like current offerings or anything? Do you ever do like coupon codes for podcasters and stuff for people to get a session?
I kind of generously just kind of open the channels to everybody who's curious. So, if my website is projectequinox.net, and all the podcasts that I've done are on there listed, so you can listen to me for like hours, because I do a lot of podcasting, and you'll get a sense of what I'm up to, what some of the version of the stuff we talk about, but in different aspects, all of it. So, I am on all the social media, right? But like, I always when I speak, my go-to is to spread the word, spread hope. Right. And then the realm of relationship, which is my lane, with the help of God, to recalibrate the culture into making this work again. What's happening in our culture right now is everything that's normal is now stupid, and everything that's stupid is the new normal, right? And so we're stepping out and away from nature and, masculine, feminine, right? Everything is separated, right? Black against white, gay against straight, men against women, Muslim against Christians. Like it's all separation. That keeps people in fear, right? And unable to think for themselves. So the relationship is such a big, it's such a big, what's the word? We in the world as human, both men and women who cannot get their love life in order feel like losers, feel like failures. Even very rich people who can't get their love lives together, their marriage together, feel like freaking failures. It's the primary indicator of the quality of your life is your relationships. My work, that's what that's what I live for. So I do podcasts to send the messages. There is hope. There's a modern way to do this. There's very, it's very doable. It's quite simple when you undo the thinking that the culture is pushing. So you have to go against the flow, but these are the people who, get the lives that they want. So what I have is two gifts. If people are listening I noticed doing podcasts there's two type of listeners. There are people who are poking around for information. Do you know what I mean? Which I understand. They're just starting the discovery, the adventure. They trying to understand why things aren't working or difficult, right? So information seekers, if you're an information seeker, so I'm pulling my little book here. If you're an information seeker, I have this book that I wrote for the ladies. It's called 5 Feminine Qualities High Value Men Find Absolutely Irresistible. All right, it's 30 pages. It's a workbook. There's for you, it's stuff for you to write and think about. Right, I sell it on my website, but if you email me, I'll send you directly to my email, Andre Coaching @gmail, ANDRE Coaching #1. In the subject box, you go Irresistible Book. I'll send you a copy. Digitally copy. So that's a gift for the information seekers. The other type of listeners, the other type of listeners are people who are really diving in, who kind of seeking out, but to a point where they're ready to take action or lean in or somebody
An
help.
Experience.
All right, somebody help. Help me with this. I'm really stuck here, right? We've all been there. So it takes a little courage, but if you're that person who resonated with what I'm saying, understand I have the tools, have the ability to help you out through your pain and into the life that you want. You just have to dismantle the crap, right? So if you're that guy, that girl, AndreCoaching1 @gmail, and in the subject box write talk now. And what I'll do is I'll send you a calendar link to my calendar. You'll find a space that's open that works for you. Click on it. We have an hour 15 maybe kind of conversation like you and I are having, like just one-on-one. And figure out where you're stuck, what's the loop, what it is, the challenge of your life, whether it's relationships is my big thing, but it's also like personal development, even finances and who you are in the world and where's the loop. So in 15 minutes, we'll go right to childhood, formative years between 5 and 11, where all of our hearts broken, abuse, neglect, abandonment issues. So in 15 minutes, literally in that call, we go right to the moment that happened for you. I'm really good at this. It's very simple, right? So from there, when you realize that you're not broken, you're a result of your past, right? That you're not broken because people come in with I'm broken. Just what's wrong with me? I can't get the relationship. I never always, all right. You're stuck. It's a loop, right? It's a subconscious loop that has you believing stuff that's not true from your past. Anyway, so not lovable, not good enough, not worthy of anything. Life is hell. Can't trust people. Like you name it, right? We all have those 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. Always happen. Anyway, dismantling that, finding out what that is, that you're not broken. You're just a product of your past, means we could fix it. And if we could fix it, right? Well, what's the life? The dream life. What's that life, right? What's the dream? Marriage and kids or long-term companionship? Like what is, you know what I mean? But again, I'm going to say everyone's looking for somebody to be with. We're made to be pair bonded, and this is how we're happier. And again, it's a lot of data on this. People who are pair bonded in healthy relationships are happier, live longer, make more money, more creative. All the goodies come from yin yang, man, woman. I'm just saying. So if you want some of that, if you have courage, you have a little courage, talk to me one-on-one. By the way, this is who I am. No pressure. No, this is who I am. I want to help you. If you have the guts to show up, AndreCoaching1, talk now. And whether we work together or not, by the way, because I'll tell you which ways. There's a bunch of ways to work with me, small, medium, large. Even if we don't work together, that call alone for some people is liberating. And now you have a chance of kind of seeing yourself in the world differently. That's my gift.
Is that a paid call? Is that a free call?
Free call. It's a gift from like you, people being here listening. If you're gonna show up,
that's generous. Wow.
I mean, that's like I said. If my work is about alleviating the pain and confusion out there, right? Start there. I'm willing. You know, there are plenty of people who are paying me, so I could do this for free to get people on the right track, or just understanding, liberated, kind of understanding the loop. Like that's, dude. Like when you understand like where you're stuck and why, because you forgot those decisions. Wow, right? Then like things connect, right?
Yeah.
And now you know. Anyway, so yeah, it's that's my God mission, is to change the cultural landscape with relationships, because when relationships fall apart, you know, children safety and sense of self falls apart, right? So when families are broken, children are broken. These children cannot in young adulthood create healthy bonds because they don't know how, they're terrified, they're broke, right? So which means they can't create their own families to raise healthy children. So when family systems fall apart, culture, society falls apart. That's what's happening out there. My job with you as a disruptor and everybody who's doing a version of what I'm doing out there in the world is a bunch of us coming together to change the cultural pace of, you know, men are toxic, dangerous, can't trust them, and go girl is the only way to live. All of that recalibrated.
Oof. Yeah, man. We're learning how to heal and trust each other again. Because it's like, yeah, men not like, again, I've been there. Men not trusting women is a huge problem, and women not trusting men is a huge problem.
It's insane. Again, separation, and it's opposite of what we need and want.
Yeah, so absolutely. And hey, I can speak for you. I know that just, you know, in our relationship so far, I trust you, man. So yeah, 100%. So I definitely recommend everybody going to Andre. I'll be putting everything in the description of this video and this podcast. You can reach out to Andre. He's quickly becoming a close friend of mine. So I'll vouch for him. And we're going to be doing a quick bathroom break. So we'll see all of you. Click the link down below and we'll see you in a second.